You're now enrolled in the school of BlackNegrojitsu. Is it your first day? Don't worry, the master, Leroy Stephan, and his co-instructors Dave, Mike, and Kyle take it easy on you, rookie. Before we get into this podcast, big shout out to our sponsor, Ball Club Box at ballclubbox.com. Ball Club Box is a sports apparel provider that provides their subscribers with monthly gift boxes full of quality licensed sports merchandise that reflects their customer support for their team. Usually these items only appear at specific stadiums or sports stores, but they intend to make it easier to customers to support their desired franchise without leaving their homes, and in some cases state by offering this subscription service. You pick the teams, they pick the items and send them to you each month. There's 3 different boxes. You got the club box, $55 for $75 worth of apparel. The executive club box, $75 for $125 worth of apparel. And the ball club season pass. That's the deal right there. That's $150 for 3 $75 boxes worth $125 each. That's $375 worth of stuff. That's $225 more than you paid. Ballclubbox.com. Go check it out. I'm telling you, they're the shiz. Also, do me a favor. Go check out Kobe's Corner. That's Kobe with a K. Corner with a K. I hope there's not another K. But go check out Kobe's Corner on YouTube. Also, go check out Kobe'sCorner.com. That's 2 Ks. I'm a writer for the site. Kobe did the intro. Good friend of mine. Great YouTube channel. Analysis, breakdown of fights. Of course, articles by me and other MMA journalists, podcasters, whatnot. Kobe's Corner, man. Go check it out. One of the fastest growing YouTube channels for MMA and one of the best online. Welcome to Class 12 of the School of BlackNegrojitsu. I'm your host, the master of BlackNegrojitsu, Le Negro, numero uno, Leroy Stephan. And today I'm joined by my co-instructor, Dave, and a special guest co-instructor from the land down under, ADCC competitor, Craig Jones. Craig Jones, say what's up real quick.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on the show.
Yes, we've got one of the very finest Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners on today. We've got a full tap of topics online today. We've got Ronda Rousey and Travis Browne rumored to go to the WWE. Henry Cejudo barely escaping a Wildfire. Mark Hunt mysteriously removed from a Sydney event. Honey Jason apparently assaulted his sister. We got all that type of gossipy stuff. We're going to run down UFC 216 for you guys. Do a quick rundown of that. Of course, we're going to talk to Mr. Jones about the Abu Dhabi Combat Championships and his career as a submission grappler overall and his life story and all that kind of stuff. And then we've got an interview also with arm snapper supreme Robert Turnquest. I thought it was very, very interesting. Robert Turnquest has the official first t-shirt of the School of BlackNegrojitsu. It's on its way right now. He's going to wear it to his next fight. So listen to the, but I guess I'll save it for the interview for you to hear all that. Turnquest, one of my very best guests ever. But let's go ahead and get into this podcast with first and foremost things. Let's do the UFC 216 rundown real quick. All the events that happened over the weekend. We had a wacky night of cancellations, especially if you guys that like to play DraftKings. It felt like it was going to be disastrous. I wish I wouldn't even heard the news of Fabricio Werdum getting pulled, because I had a lot of him and I switched him all out. But anyway, we had some very late fight cancellations. We had Fabricio Werdum versus Derek Lewis called off on the night of the fight. We had Walt Harris and Mark Godbeer also called off on the night of the fight because Walt Harris was called up to fight Fabricio Werdum on short notice. And we had also lost Andrea Lee versus Kalindra Faria because of some USADA stuff. So we lost 2 fights like 15 minutes before the fight started, which was absolutely disastrous for DraftKings. I'm sorry that I heard the news, because if I wouldn't have, I probably would have had a little bit of a better night. But that being said, Brad Tavares defeats Talis Ladies by a pretty good beating. If you guys want to interject, Dave and Craig, go ahead anytime during this rundown. Just interrupt me. You got it?
Yep.
Okay. John Moraga with the upset of the year. Absolutely KOs Magomed Bibulatov after all the hype and all the talk about Bibulatov having the best striking ever. He is absolutely flush KO'd in the midst of the first round in shocking fashion. Man, I didn't know what to think. I was not expecting that. Did Dave or Craig, did you guys see that?
I saw a Twitter clip of the KO. It looked absolutely brutal. I don't think a lot of people were expecting that. Moraga being a wrestler, I think that they thought that if the fight goes to the ground, that Bibulatov's wrestling might, outweigh Moraga's wrestling. But for him to absolutely starch Bibulatov like that, I don't think anybody was expecting that, and that was a pretty brutal knockout.
Okay.
Yeah, I only saw the clip of the finish, but yeah, that looks very, very heavy.
Yeah, man, John Moraga. Never count. I'm sorry I counted John Moraga out. He's always in the fight. He is no scrub. He is a top-level competitor for sure. Matt Schnell versus Marco Antonio Beltran in a pretty underwhelming matchup in comparison to the rest of the night. Paulina Botello beats Pearl Gonzalez in a cage-grinding match. This is the worst fight of the night. One of the worst fights of the year. I don't see why Pearl didn't keep it at range. She had the advantage early, and she just went to the grappling, which is her strength. And she was able to control Botello against the cage, but did not do nearly enough damage against the cage. Unlike Bobby Green, who did a lot of damage on the cage. Bobby Green and Lando Venata in the fight of the century. Oh, man. If you haven't seen this fight, go watch it. All kinds of drama, illegal knee in the first round. It cost Lando a point, maybe even the fight. Bobby Green almost knocked Lando out with 10 seconds left. If there were 3 more seconds left, he would have put Lando away completely. Just an awesome fight. Glad to see Bobby Green get back on track and look like one of the very best fighters in the world. Lando Venata did what he could, but I mean, after he couldn't put Green away, it was just downhill from there. Cody Stamann upsets the Frenchman, Tom Duquesnoy. I was all over Tom Duquesnoy's opponent on DraftKings on the last card. On this card, I was all on Duquesnoy. I cannot get Duquesnoy down. I do not know how to call this guy, but I was expecting that he would deal with the wrestling of a worse wrestler better, and he didn't. Evan Dunham survives a vicious, ferocious beatdown from Beneil Dariush in order to gain a draw. He was absolutely beaten like a child in the first round, and he was able to will his way through it. Maybe it was the spirit of Las Vegas pushing him, and he was able to get over and get the draw. Won the last 2 rounds. I don't think it's necessarily convicting of Dariush, because he beat the shit out of Evan Dunham and just didn't have anything left due to the beating he put on him. Oftentimes when people are able to survive a beating, you know that the person that was doing the beating is absolutely spent. So Beneil Dariush did his best to put Dunham away. Dunham is super tough though. We had next up Kalindra Faria versus Mara Romero Barella. I thought that Faria would have a big striking advantage and Barella's grappling would not get to her, but Barella's grappling is top notch, much better than I thought. I should have known when I seen her throwing around Milana Dudieva, which all she has is a grappling game. But Romero Barella with the big upset. Fabricio Verdum absolutely schools Walt Harris in a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tutorial in 65 seconds. You don't take Fabricio Verdum on short notice, Walt Harris. You should have stuck with Mark Godbeer. I know it was the opportunity of a lifetime, but you need a full camp for that. Craig Jones, what do you think of that type of challenge, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu challenge, or that type of on short notice?
That's that is a lot to handle. Like Verdun's ADCC gold medalist. Like you need a big camp to prepare for that, unless you have a background in jiu-jitsu, and you didn't want to have a really good background in jiu-jitsu.
Yes, I mean, Walt Harris seemed to do everything right. 2 hands on the choking arm, and Fabricio Verdum had a counter for that. When you do everything right and you still did everything wrong, that's when you know you're in fucking quicksand. So, absolutely. I mean, what can you expect though? I hope the UFC gave Walt Harris a bonus for that, because I think on a full camp he could have done much better, but on short notice, absolutely terrible matchup. Especially not being in a matchup against somebody with any grappling. Mark Godbeer is an atrocious grappler. Demetrius Johnson with a playground type submission on Ray Borg from the suplex straight to the armbar to the tap. Demetrius Johnson wiping out the division, looking like the best fighter in the world. I wish he had some promotion. He's absolutely charming, absolutely well-spoken. And the UFC doesn't get behind him and promote him. You've got a guy that finishes all of his fights pretty much in spectacular type fashion. Even if it's the last round, he's looking for the finish. This is an easy sell. And the UFC doesn't have it on the shelves, you know. Demetrius Johnson should be making Floyd Mayweather money, but they're not doing Floyd Mayweather promotion.
I got a question for the two of you, right? So watching that fight, right? It seems like I don't know, like basically I saw the question arise on Twitter, right? And the question was basically whose run is better, right? Spider Silva's run, Anderson Silva's run, or Demetrius's championship run. And the way I'm currently looking at it, right? I'm not gonna say which one I think is a better run, but has anybody, I think, taken notice to the fact that Dimitri said he was going to stop Ray Borg in the 4th, right? He stopped him in the 5th, if I'm not mistaken. But it seems like at times he could finish a fight kind of when he wants to, and he just kind of toys with his opposition. Like he had Ray Borg in some compromising situations, would just, do everything right, like the space he was creating between himself and the cage, so Ray Borg couldn't do anything, pinning his head down, just kind of toying with him for a little bit, and then out of nowhere in the 5th round, he just picks him up for belly to back suplex right into an arm bar, like something we've never seen in the cage before. So I just wanted to get either one of your takes on, like, if it's at this point, it just seems like he's just toying with his opposition. He could stop a fight damn near anytime he wants. Like even in the Cejudo fight, right? He just came out and just starched Cejudo after all the shit that Cejudo was trying to talk to him pre-weigh. Came in, hit him with a few knees, and just put him on his ass and just finish the fight. So I want to get either one of your opinions on if at this point he's just toying with that division.
I don't know if he's toying with people, but I mean, if you're gonna go for a high risk submission like that, you're probably doing it in the 5th round. I don't think he toys with anybody. I think he's always working to finish the fight. What about you, Craig Jones? I think he won, but I think in the 5th round he gets a certain urgency to finish. That I can say that much.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think his gas tank's incredible. So I think like by the time it hits the 5th, their opponent's already thinking about it going to the judges, and he just turns it up. I think his run's been incredible and incredibly dominant, but maybe Anderson Silva had tougher opponents. But I mean, it's hard to say when you're that good and you look that much better than the rest of the division. It's going to make the division look weak.
I don't know if middleweight is a lot shittier than what's Demetrius Johnson, a flyweight, I think.
So the lightest one, right?
Yeah. You have to understand that Anderson Silva fought somebody for a championship main event who was on the Fight Pass prelims opening the show, Tally's Ladies, and one of the worst fights ever. So his championship run was not that impressive by name and accomplishment. I mean, who else did he beat? He beat Rich Franklin. Who's Rich Franklin? Rich Franklin was great for the time, but in the grand scope of things, you know what I'm saying? So I think Anderson Silva, I don't know, that middleweight run, it's good. I mean, Anderson Silva definitely was one of the best guys in the world, arguably the best, but I don't think he's faced a better competition than Demetrius Johnson necessarily. And he's definitely not more consistent in his performances. He has some kind of bizarre
He had some
performances.
close ones.
Yeah, but that's because he kept it close. You know, Anderson Silva is bizarre in a way, man. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, Demetrius Johnson, I think he's the best in the world. But they're not. I don't believe it because nobody's telling it to me. Would somebody please tell me that? Can I see a commercial about it or something? You know,
I'll tell you, he's the best in the world. I don't see anybody who just absolutely puts on clinics like he does. Like he put on a 4.5 round clinic, and then just that was it. It looked like Ray Borg didn't have much left, and just hit him with a WWE move to an armbar, and that was absurd. Like I blinked, and the next thing I know, he's just suplexing Ray Borg and he's got him in an armbar. It was absolutely insane.
Demetrius Johnson should sign with Bellator or another promotion, or maybe promote himself, because being with the UFC is a waste of time. On to the main event, though. Tony Ferguson defeats Kevin Lee by a triangle choke. Apparently, Kevin Lee came down with staph during the week of the fight, and so he really didn't have a gas tank to go off of here. That's kind of bizarre, but he did look like he gassed way early, and apparently that was from the staph infection and the weight cut. He performed admirably, had Tony Ferguson in all kinds of trouble. Tony looked the worst that I've ever seen him look in a fight, and I don't know why that is. He looked off. Like his striking didn't look right, or maybe that was the plan, to let Kevin Lee shoot his load and then, finish him late. But Tony Ferguson didn't look like the best Tony Ferguson. Was that just me, or did everybody else see that too?
I don't know if it was him not looking his best, or him just kind of being. I think he was just trying to wait Kevin Lee out from when I was watching it. Like even in the first round, he was kind of being a little tentative, trying to find the range, and he dropped Kevin at one point in time with I don't remember if it was a left hook or a right hook, but he dropped Kevin really quickly, and then it seemed like he was just letting Kevin kind of shoot his load. I don't know if it was. It seemed kind of like a game plan, because you never know what El Kukui's bound to do, but it seemed like he kind of just was waiting for it. It seemed like he just wanted Kevin's gas tank to get a little low, and he kind of wanted that fight to go deeper into deeper rounds, because I think he knew he would have Kevin finish there if it went to the deeper rounds. I don't want to say he looked his sharpest, but he definitely looked like he came in, had a game plan, and kind of executed that game plan at least from my point of view.
Craig Jones, did you see the fight? What did you think?
I only saw the finish, but the finish was pretty impressive. That triangle choke. I was going to ask you guys how he ended up on the ground. It was
I believe
Kevin
he was taken down. Yeah, well, I don't know if he was letting himself get taken down. It seemed Tony Ferguson didn't look as. It looked like he had something in mind, And I think that was just to let him wear himself out with the takedowns and scrambles and stuff, and then finish it from his back. But yeah, Tony Ferguson didn't look like the aggressive, Darce choking, super active Tony Ferguson that I know. It's a different approach to the fight. But yeah, he let himself get taken down, and he was kind of dominating off his back, except for the first round.
He almost had he had a pretty tight armbar on Kevin Lee, and Kevin Lee was able to kind of rotate the shoulder, kind of tuck his head and kind of step over Tony Ferguson prior to that to the triangle choke. It looked pretty deep, and it was pretty. He had the arm hyperextended, and for Kevin to get out of that was impressive. But then it just seemed like he didn't have much left. I think right after that was the triangle choke, if I remember correctly. And it was pretty impressive what Tony was doing to him off his back. So he had him in deep waters once, and it seemed like he kind of exerted any energy he had left in trying to get at that arm bar. And then after that, Tony hit him with that triangle, and that was about it. He just started pulling on that neck, and it was night for Kevin Lee.
Yeah, Ferguson's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu seemed to be levels above Kevin. Well, it's probably the fatigue too. That probably had a lot to do with it.
Well, he trains out with Eddie Bravo. He's an EBI guy, so he's got some pretty funky BJJ.
Either Kevin Lee looked much better, or he was much improved, or Tony Ferguson looked much worse. I was not impressed by Ferguson's performance. That's not the Tony Ferguson that I know. For some reason, I don't know why. He took too much damage. He got taken down and dominated physically. Yeah, I just thought Ferguson didn't look his best. But let me run down the rest of this unimportant news, and then we'll get to the Craig Jones interview about all his life and career, because I think that's more interesting than this little bullshit news we got on tap this week. Ronda Rousey and Travis Browne are apparently headed to the WWE. Ronda Rousey was asked by TMZ if she was going to WWE. She said she was in negotiations. Travis Browne also implied that he was in negotiations. This is per Bloody Elbow. I think that's great for both of them. I'm always cheering for Ronda Rousey. I hope she makes a lot of money in the WWE. I hope Travis Browne goes and makes a lot of money in the WWE, because I think his fight career is pretty much over. He seems like a shot fighter. He has a lot of talent, very physically gifted, but just does not seem to have the fight in him anymore. Ronda Rousey, she didn't necessarily get to be perfect in the cage or out, but she was nearly that. She's the pioneer of women's MMA. I will always be rooting for her. Co-host, co-instructors, what do you think of this?
Craig, you want to take that one first? Do you have any opinion on that?
I mean, I think they're both taking a fair few knockouts, so maybe the WWE would be a safe choice for their future health.
I'm in 100% agreement. I think especially with Edmund and either one of their corners, there's not much more damage they should be sustaining. And if he's cornering them for any more fights, then there's definitely going to be damage that they're going to be taking. So I think it's a good career transition for both of them. I think Ronda really still has that name to capitalize on, and I think she should take full advantage of that. I mean, if she comes back and fights the cream of the crop like someone like Cyborg, it's just putting her in the line of being a human punching bag. Travis doesn't look like he's got it anymore either. So I think this is honestly, at this point in their careers, I think it's the best possible career move for both of them.
Yeah, I really enjoy Shayna Baszler being in the WWE. I think that it's working out very well for her. That's the only reason I really even tuned into the Mae Young Classic, is to see how, even though the Mae Young Classic was great, he had lots of great talent, that's what got me tuned in, was Shayna Baszler and her, seeing how her submission grappling background would translate to pro wrestling. Next topic up, Conor McGregor is rumored to stay on the topic of WWE to be showing up at WrestleMania. I'm watching WrestleMania whether Conor McGregor is on or not. I don't know exactly what role he would have. I don't know if I'd necessarily be super interested in it, but Conor McGregor anywhere is interesting. But one thing that the Floyd Mayweather fight showed me is that he's not very natural on the mic. He doesn't have a lot of material. He has not thought that, he didn't think that part of the game out as well as I thought he did. When I seen him had to do that press tour, he kind of had stuff for the first two legs of it, and then he ran out of stuff for the last two legs. So I'm kind of excited to see Conor McGregor, but I don't know how he'd be able to carry an angle over time. Go ahead, Dave. You go first on this. What do you think? Conor McGregor, WrestleMania, you buying it or not? I think I'm buying it.
I don't know. One of my buddies usually buys like Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, so we usually go over and have a few drinks and watch those events and just crack some jokes and bullshit around. But I think it's amazing. If he does show up, I think it's just amazing what Conor has been doing with his stardom, right? He's just absolutely transcending the sport. He's doing something I think we've never seen done before. I mean, Ronda's kind of done it, with going into WWE and acting, but the fact he's able to cross over into boxing, if he's able to do this, if he starts going into movies, I think he's really, really turned himself into quite the entrepreneur, and really has promoted the hell out of himself, and really has turned this UFC career into something much larger than that, something like something I think we've never seen before, and that we might not see again. Also, on top of that, it's funny you say he didn't seem natural on the mic, because I did notice that as well. And then, I was actually a few weeks ago. I was watching some YouTube videos of him calling out back when he was on the Ultimate Fighter, and he was a coach, and Uriah Faber was a coach, and he was kind of dogging TJ Dillashaw, and he's kind of shitting on TJ when he was moving the camp from Alpha Male to Colorado and training with Dwayne Ludwig. And it did, like, looking back at that now, he didn't seem as natural as I feel like people thought he was. It felt like a lot of the stuff he was kind of saying was a little tentative and a little forced. So I'm also, it's funny you bring that up, because now when you if you go back and look at a few of his clips, even him on the mic in the UFC, some of it looks like a little forced and a little tentative. It's actually interesting to look back at that now.
Craig Jones, what do you think? WrestleMania. Are you a pro wrestling fan, first of all?
I mean, I used to be. I still play the video games from time to time, but like.
Are you buying WrestleMania if Conor McGregor is there?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Oh shit! Why? Okay, why not? It's only fucking $10, Craig. What the fuck? It's the WWE Network. It's $10. What do you mean? You don't have $10 to spend on this? This isn't like the UFC. It's $10 fucking dollars, Craig. What the fuck?
Stick to your guns, Craig. Stick to your guns.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I'll see what my friends are doing if they want to watch it. But, yeah, with everything Conor McGregor's doing, it makes me wonder if he actually will ever come back to MMA, if he needs to.
Okay, all right. So, yeah, I'm interested, but he's not. He's just a great personality, but he's just not like a Mike. He needs to work on that. That's something that he could have carried. He could have really done even better if he would have been prepared for that. But he wasn't as natural as he's got an authentic personality. He's got great charisma, but I don't know if I want to see him in 4 or 5 appearances, because it seems to get stale after 2. On to our next topic, though. We've got Mark Hunt being removed from the UFC Sydney card. Dana White says because of injury concerns. But Mark Hunt is saying that they're just fucking with him after he spent $100,000 on his camp to fight Marcin Tybura. I don't know what's going on. I guess the UFC might be fucking with him, because why are they pulling him? He says he's healthy and he's ready to go. It's a Sydney card. Mark Hunt is the shit down in Australia. We have an Australian on the show. Craig Jones, what the fuck is going on down under?
I'm not sure. I mean, Mark Hunt's from New Zealand, but we claim him sort of like everyone.
Oh,
everyone
shit!
We own him as We own him as an Australian, but yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, he caused a few problems with the UFC with trying to sue about those drug tests. I don't know. Maybe they are.
Yeah, that was pretty fucked up, though, Craig,
that.
man. I mean, did you see what they did to him? They fed him to fucking Brock Lesnar on roids. I mean, he would have had a chance maybe off the roids, but wouldn't you be pissed too if somebody did something like that to you?
Oh, I would be pissed, but at the same time, if I took one look at Brock Lesnar, I'd be like, I don't think he's passing any drug tests. You know what I mean? I'd ask them for a lot of money to fight that guy.
Dave, what do you think of this? Is Dana White and them just fucking with Mark Hunt, trying to fuck his money up, or what? I think
100% that they're just trying to blackball him. I think that they're just really just trying to fuck with him because of all the lawsuits, and they're basically kind of trying to say, I think Dana's kind of trying to say, don't bite the hand that feeds you. So he's been really outspoken. He's been one of the more outspoken fighters, which I definitely respect from his end, right? Because somebody's got to say something. A lot of the fighters don't want to say anything to fuck up their money or, fuck up their livelihood. And he's one of the older dogs, and I'm hoping he's got some money put away, or, he's got some other type of investments. But it seems like I said, is Dana, I think it seems to be trying to make that message loud and clear that don't bite the hand that feeds you, because we could basically pull you from a card whenever the hell we want. So let's kind of see how this story unravels.
Yeah, I love Mark Hunt, man. He comes to fight. He seems like a great guy. He's a Christian guy. I love all of God's people. So I'm always cheering for Mark Hunt. I hope that maybe he leaves the UFC, because I'm tired of hearing him have to cuss Dana White's bald-headed ass out. Dana White he's a prick. He's always getting on somebody's bad side. I'm surprised nobody's jumped on him yet. He said so much offensive stuff. I'm surprised he hadn't. Well, he almost fought damn me Tito Ortiz back in the day.
Yeah,
They
that
don't.
boxing fight. That boxing fight, right?
Yeah, man. Like Dana White is always calling fighters out and shit. I'm surprised ain't nobody decked his motherfucking ass yet, because he sure do be challenging people to fights, man. So it's not that I want to see him get beat up. He's always picking a fight with somebody, and these guys are professional fighters. Somebody should probably plaster Dana White's ass. Anyway, Henry Cejudo was caught in a wildfire over the weekend in California, and he was forced to, I believe, jump off a hotel balcony to try and escape. So I guess that Cejudo lost his gold medal. He lost some other personal belongings and whatnot. So yeah, man, I guess it was in the hotel. So or was he? Did he lose it in his house? No, it was in the hotel. I guess he had brought it with him when he had tried to escape from his house, and he lost his gold medal. But for Henry Cejudo, is fine. So good to hear that. Henry Cejudo is doing wonderful after the California wildfires. They have wildfires in Australia, Craig Jones. They don't have wildfires here.
Yeah, they have a fair few. They call them bushfires down there. We have a fair few during the summer.
Okay, all right. I don't know too much about wildfires. We have tornadoes and shit like that here. We've got Honey Jason apparently was seen assaulting a woman. It ended up being his sister. I don't know what's going on between them. Dave, did you see that video?
Yeah, where he was attacking her when she was on the ground.
Yeah, Honey seemed like he's drunk or
whatever the hell that was. That was absolutely disgusting for any type of man to lay his hands on a woman, especially a down woman, is absolutely disgusting. I don't know what the repercussions are going to be for that, but he definitely deserves whatever the hell is coming to him after that, whether it's his sister or anybody related to him or anybody that's, even a stranger. Is just, there's no explicable there's no explanation for a man putting his hands on a woman at all.
Craig Jones, have you seen this video? Probably not, huh?
I haven't watched it. No, that sounds pretty terrible.
Yeah, it's news to talk about, though, I guess. We always talk about the top headlines. It was very bizarre to see that. Very brutal, also. I believe Brazilian authorities are now looking for Honey Jason. Last but not least, Alliance MMA apparently is maybe in some, I guess, I guess the promotion is in a bit of financial trouble. I don't know. That's what they say. On to the next thing, though. I don't know too much about that Alliance MMA thing. A little bit more complicated than when I first clicked on the article, but I just saw it and I thought it was the Alliance Camp MMA, not Alliance, the organization. That's it for the news today. Let's get into what's important, though. Craig Jones, ADCC competitor. Guy, how did you get started off in first of all, you're from Australia. How did you get started off in grappling? How did you get started off in the martial arts? Tell us about your background growing up.
Well, I didn't start any martial arts really until I was a teenager, but I remember my cousin, who actually was doing jiu-jitsu at the time, showed me a UFC DVD when I was about 15, and I just became so fascinated by it. And then he eventually opened a school pretty early when he was a blue belt, actually. So I started training with him. I trained in Adelaide for 7-8 years. I was gonna get into MMA, but jiu-jitsu just really took my interest, and it was easier to compete in jiu-jitsu back then. There wasn't much MMA going on about 10 years ago in Australia. I think it was even illegal at the time. At least the cage was illegal. And then I started competing a lot. I found some success, and I was contacted by a gym in Melbourne, so one of the biggest cities in Australia, to come out and teach. And it sort of gave me the avenue to train full-time and teach full-time, so really dedicate myself to jiu-jitsu. So for the last 2.5 years, I've been in Melbourne just training under my coach, Lachlan Giles, full-time.
Okay, so you've been training for the last, you say, 10 years in Melbourne?
About 10 years, with about 8 of them being in Adelaide, a smaller city, and then the last 2 in Melbourne.
Yeah, because okay, we had another Aussie on, Damian Browne. I don't know where he trains. I don't know if he trains in Melbourne or not. I think there are only so many gyms in Australia, right?
Yeah, I mean, pure jiu-jitsu gyms are pretty popular. Like, it's like, I guess it's like in the States, like you see all these celebrities training jiu-jitsu and it's sort of blowing up as one of the big sports. So within Australia, there are lots of jiu-jitsu gyms. There's quite a few MMA gyms. That's really growing since they've legalized it right around the country. But jiu-jitsu is definitely very big in Melbourne and Sydney, at the very least.
Okay. So you a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt? I'm assuming, or what is your ranking? I guess. Or do you? Yeah.
Yeah, so I got the black belt in December last year. So still a pretty new black belt, but again, yeah, I've been training about 10 years. So I think that's about how long it takes most people to get it.
Really? Okay. All right. All right. I'm figuring that you are being one of the better ADCC competitors. Um, you had a wonderful run at the Abu Dhabi Combat Championships. I was able to see everything but you versus Chael Sonnen. You submitted Chael Sonnen. I saw all the ADCC World Championship matches. I didn't see the absolute matches. So you beat Leandro Lowe, and I heard you talking to Dave before the show, and you talked about that you hurt his knee crack and pop. Was there significant damage to his knee from the heel hooks and ankle locks that you were putting on there?
Yeah, well, I mean, the ankle locks, I don't think they did any damage. I think I was just sort of trying to slow him down a bit. I was going to test out, because, I mean, when you're training, there's some people that tap ankle locks, straight ankle locks, and they're just...
All right, guys, we had some slight technical difficulties there. I dropped off in the middle of asking Craig Jones about the damage that he had done to Leandro Lowe's leg. So, Craig, just a follow up where we picked off. What you said you heard cracking and popping, and didn't figure that there would be any submitting after the damage that you did. What was Leandro Lowe severely injured or anything like that from the ankle locks that you put in, or what? What do you think? Because you got a lot of deep ones in there, and he would not tap. So what's your diagnosis here?
Well, yeah, like, I mean, I've competed a lot in those heel hook tournaments, and I felt a few knees pop, but like the one on Leandro's knee was pretty substantial. That inside heel hook to me is probably the deadliest submission that is in a choke. So like just about everyone has to tap the chokes, and in terms of submissions to the body, a lot of guys will avoid tapping to a lot of things. They're happy to injure certain things. Like, I mean, especially a guy like AJ Agazarm, he's famous for that. But Leandro, yeah, the pop to his knee was pretty substantial. He was limping around for a couple of days after the tournament until he got a few beers into him at the after party, and then that knee injury healed up and he was dancing.
So, I mean, that seems to be your strength is leg locks, and I guess that's the new thing for high level no gi type people. It seems now is that the Josh Hayes of the world, and the Gary Tonins, and all you guys that are doing really well are into the leg lock game. It was something that it's a very underdeveloped position amongst Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners. How do you feel about like how did you get into leg locks? Who is it that got you that made, is that a specialty of yours, or was that just an approach to yours of the tournament?
I guess it just came about because me and my coach Lucky, we both qualified for the ADCC in 2015, and like I know me at that time, I hadn't done any leg locks, especially because I was a purple belt at the time, so I hadn't even really worked on knee bars or toe holds like the IBJJF legal leg locks. But I guess we just started working on it with a healthy respect and a bit of fear going into the heel hook tournaments. So like we just saw, well, I guess respected how dangerous they were and really tried to put a lot of time into studying tape and coming up with their own strategies. It's been a lot of trial and error getting to the point where we are at now. But I think with leg locks, I think like anything in the jiu-jitsu sport, like, I mean, the Mendez brothers and stuff, when they brought the Birimbolo in, they really crushed a lot of traditional guys with it. It was just something new that people had neglected, and guys still neglect it today. And I think all around the world, the Birimbolo as a technique spread because people saw how effective it was against traditional styles. And I think leg locks are sort of the new wave of that. Like, a lot of guys didn't respect leg locks. A lot of guys thought they didn't have to tap to leg locks. And then when the Danaher guys started implementing it, and I mean, Dean Lister's been implementing it as well. But again, you take one look at that guy and you're like, he could probably do whatever he wants to people. So when you see the Danaher guys implement it and are tapping high-level guys, it was sort of like, now it's just spread right around the world.
You were able to, what did you beat Murillo Santana by? I forgot.
It was a flying arm bar, right? Was that it?
Yes.
A flying triangle.
Absolutely
Flying
amazing. What, I guess you're very comfortable from your back anyway, but is that a go-to of yours or something like that? Is that a strong technique for you? Because you seem to just hit it confidently, just off the bat.
Yeah, I mean, I used to, right up until I started working on the leg locks, the triangle choke was definitely my favorite move, and especially from like a knee shield position. So, and I shoot a lot of triangles off of an overhook position from the knee shield. So lately, whenever I've been getting the overhook, I've been trying to jump flying triangles, but it's never been anything I've really specifically drilled or worked on. I guess it's one of those things where the setup I use on the ground is very similar to the way you'd shoot it standing up. I actually shot one about, was it 1 or 2 years ago? I had a super fight with Nathan Orchard, and it was the first time I'd ever even done one in training or competition. I just jumped at him while he pulled guard. I landed the flying triangle, but I couldn't finish him. He held tough for like 7 minutes in there.
And in the against Keenan Cornelius, I saw that you had a lot of you got close on a lot of techniques, but I believe you were rear naked choked in the end, right?
With the Keenan one, it was just the final score. I didn't get submitted, but it was pretty dominant. The final score was 13-0.
Yeah, why was it 13-0? Because I saw that. Yeah, at first it was like 1-0, then it was 13-0. I'm new to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competitions, but what happened there? Why was the score so lopsided?
I'll have to rewatch it again. I mean, in my mind, during the match, it felt like a close match in terms of I had a couple of submission attempts. I almost got I chased him down for the inside heel hook, but just being a long and flexible guy, really hard to attack the ankles. So he was able to take my back. I made a couple of technical errors trying to apply the outside heel hook, and given how long and flexible he was able to take my back out of there, which is some high scoring positions. I think he maybe took my back twice and maybe mounted me or got a guard pass. That's definitely going to score highly.
Okay, all right. And then you faced Xander Ribeiro in the bronze medal match. Ribeiro has his own DVD, a very accomplished Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy. What did you think of that matchup? I think you lost like 1-0, right? Or something like that.
Yeah, so it was like it was a frustrating match because Shanji, obviously he's a legend of the sport, but he was very very inactive on top, I thought. And I mean, it's just something you have to deal with in the sport. But what happened was I went for a leg lock on him, and just like low, I missed the leg lock, but I tried to turn it into a sweep, and I came up and I got a rear body lock. Like I got a gable grip body lock on him, and we ended up running out of bounds. So that was a very good position to get. And then when the referee restarted it, and like there was some arguing, and Shanji said I didn't have my hands gripped, so the ref didn't let me put my hands together. And then Shanji turned around before the ref said go. And then given the way the ADCC rules work is that if it's after 5 minutes into the match, you can't pull guard anymore. So you will lose a point if you pull guard. And so we were wrestling a bit, and I made a mistake where he picked up a single leg, and I tried to hit the same flying triangle that I did on Keenan, but that I landed on Murillo. But obviously lightning doesn't strike twice in the same weekend, and he saw that coming and turned it into a takedown. So that won him the match. I think it was 2-0.
Right. I think I saw you get close on some was it some kind of leg lock earlier, and he kind of slipped out of it. But in the absolute portion of the tournament, You faced Chael Sonnen, I believe, in the first round, but how did you do in that? Because I did not get to download any of that. Apparently, I don't know what's up with that. Why that wasn't in my download list, but how did the absolute portion of the tournament go for you? You beat Chael Sonnen. He's got a big mouth, and but he's a talented wrestler. He's an accomplished MMA guy. He should have been a middleweight champion if he wasn't such a fuck up and cost himself matches. But Chael Sonnen is one of the better fighters of all time. How did it feel? You got the win over Chael Sonnen, am I not mistaken?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a bit of a funny story to it, right? So after my weight division, I'd had those 4 matches, and I was like, I was exhausted, especially day 2. Day 2 were really long matches, so I'd gotten changed, showered, eaten. Like, I didn't even think I was going to do the absolute. I was at the bar having a couple beers. Like, I was drinking a beer. And then the ADCC guys came up, and they were like, are you doing the absolute? And I'm like, nah, man. Like, I've already had a beer. And he was like, we were going to put you against Chael Sonnen first round. And I was like, my coach was there. He's like, so, like, you can't say no to Chael Sonnen. So I was like, all right, I'm jumping back in. So I jumped in against Chael. And I was, I mean, Chael's been submitted a bit in MMA, but, like, I've seen his grappling matches, and he's obviously a very good wrestler. He's very strong. Like, I think he was 217 pounds. He just had a close match with Leo Vieira in which he won the super fight. I remember watching him back in the day at Metamoris. He fought Andre Galvao, and it even took Andre Galvao 15 minutes to sort of to take care of Chael Sonnen. I think he ended up taking his back and choking him. So I was like, although I knew Chael Sonnen wasn't a professional grappler within the sport, I knew it was going to be a tough match. So I went out there and I was trying to attack his upper body, but he was very, very defensive. And then as I was attacking the upper body, he pulled away, and that opened it up for me to attack the legs, and I landed an outside heel hook on him.
And what happened in the following? Were there any more absolute matches for you, or was that it?
Yeah, so the second round was against Gordon Ryan. So Gordon had just beaten Cyborg, which I saw Cyborg. It was like the winner of me and Chael was going to have the winner of Cyborg and Gordon. And Gordon took care of Cyborg pretty convincingly, actually surprised me, given that Cyborg is a former ADCC openweight champion. So then I had Gordon, and we had a pretty slow-paced match for about 7 minutes, and then he set up a guard pass, and I went for a sort of a high-risk choke on him. I went for this Ezekiel choke, and it was choking him, but as he escaped the choke, he passed straight to mount and was able to secure an arm triangle on me. But I mean, I would love to have another match with him. What he did that weekend was very impressive. It was pretty cool. I think he's the first American to ever take out the 88 kilo division, or the first ever non-Brazilian. So like what he did was very impressive. And then he made it all the way to the absolute final, which again, that's crazy for a young guy like him.
All right. Any regrets from the weekend that you have? You had a wonderful run. Anything that you regret? Anything you'd like to go back and change? Or are you satisfied with your performance?
I mean, I'm not going to be too hard on myself. Like a lot of people didn't know who I was before day 1, and then like I've gained a fair bit of fame from those 2 submissions. So I can't be too hard on myself. But again, day 2 made quite a few strategic errors. So like, yeah, I mean, just really, I got 2 years to prepare for the next tournament. So hopefully I can adjust and come back hard for that next one.
Okay. Now I'm trying to become a leg lock specialist like you, Mr. Jones. But I'm having problems getting to my entries right. Are there any DVDs or anything that I could watch to get better entries to my leg locks? I mean, I think I got some good ideas, but when it actually comes time to apply them, and then I don't apply them from guard, I try to apply them from like top position or something like that. What's the best way for leg entries to leg locks, or what's the best entries to leg locks that you found, or that you would prescribe to a person that's trying to become extremely proficient in leg locks?
I would say, I'm a big fan of DVDs for learning. Me and Kid Dale from Australia, we made a DVD, and that's got some leg lock entries. But I would recommend just spending a lot of time watching jiu-jitsu matches with high-level leg lockers and really slow it down, try and work out what they're thinking. And some of the best resources are those analysis clips where a high-level jiu-jitsu guy will show a setup or a technique, and they'll just break it down. So that's some of the best way. And then just trial and error. And I would say spend a lot of time. If you're working a new technique, I would drill it until you are confident you can do the technique at some form of speed, right? And then I would just spend a lot of time hammering it out on guys that you're better than. Like, it's never a good idea to take a new technique and try it on the really good guys because they just crush you.
I see what you're saying. Excellent. Yeah, I got the Josh Hayden DVD, but yeah, the one thing now I was lacking is just I guess I always fuck up the injuries. I need to just drill them first, then try and implement them because I always get lost when I try and implement them in real time. But since ADC has ended, like, are you a professional grappler, submission grappler? Are you able to make a living off submission grappling? Do you have your own school? Like, how are you able to make ends meet while you know, going through your Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu career? Or how does that work? How's the money in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu circuit?
Yeah, well, I mean, here's the thing. So for like I teach at a big gym in Melbourne. So Lachlan, we have a gym called Absolute MMA where we have 3 gyms around Melbourne, and we got a stack of students. And my coach Lachlan runs one in St Kilda, and I will teach classes between St Kilda and Collingwood, another area in Melbourne. But it's been a tough road. Like, there's not a lot of money in jiu-jitsu, but it's sort of one of those things you have to invest in. So say early days, I'm really paying for me to go to tournaments to compete. And if I find some success, then maybe I'll get some help from sponsors, or maybe I'll get more private lessons back home. But the money in jiu-jitsu isn't too bad. And especially the position I'm in after ADCC, just getting a little bit of fame has opened the door for better sponsors, more seminars, more super fights. But I would say the interesting thing is high-end MMA. I mean, no jiu-jitsu guys make it anywhere near what those guys are making. But I would say that maybe the bottom 90-95% of MMA fighters are probably making less money than the average jiu-jitsu instructor. Like, there's so many jiu-jitsu guys around the world with successful gyms making a lot of money, not even competing themselves. So I guess it's a tricky one there, right? You can make more money in MMA, but the average jiu-jitsu guy probably is in a better position.
Now, speaking of making money off of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym, I just found your DVD as well. How do you feel about Jiu-Jitsu for underprivileged kids? You know, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is pretty much a white-collar sport, even when it was in Brazil. Or in Brazil, the rich people would do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the poor people would do Luta Libre. If Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is going to grow, if there's going to be more popularity, and if popularity, then do you think that would bring more money? Or do you like the atmosphere, the white-collar atmosphere of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu today? You're an instructor. How do you feel about trying to take Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to underprivileged communities, if they even have many of those in Australia, or just, blue-collar communities? How do you feel about how Jiu-Jitsu is spreading throughout the world? Do you like the white-collar atmosphere of the sport? Or would you like to see it become more like boxing and wrestling, where it's in every high school, every gym? What do you think?
I think it's like the instructors are definitely going to prefer the way it is now. Like, people put a high value on jiu-jitsu, and I think, say if you look at the sport of judo, it is in high schools. It's like there's a lot of people teaching it, but there's not a lot of money in the sport, despite it being in the Olympics. So jiu-jitsu is a rare thing where people are willing to pay a lot of money. Like, I know some instructors out there get up to $500 a private lesson, even, like some of the legends in the sport. So I think, as an instructor, I do like that.
Damn, you say $500 a private lesson?
Yeah, for real, yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ. That's like 5 months of Brazilian Jesus, depending on where you're going, that's 2 to 5 months of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instruction at other places. So just
that's a whole lot of WrestleMania you can order with that $500.
You're damn right. There's a whole lot of WrestleMania DVDs. You could get every WrestleMania DVDs for $10, man. And you tell me $500 a lesson? I mean, what the fuck are they teaching within these lessons, you know?
Yeah, that's what I'd like to know too.
Oh, go on, Craig. I'm sorry for interrupting. That is a preposterous amount of money. Go ahead. Keep going, though.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah.
I'm wondering if you getting paid that much. Is there a blowjob in there or something like that, too? Like, do you have to do sexual favors in that motherfucker, too? Like, God. All right, keep on going, though.
Yeah, but like you said, with underprivileged kids and stuff, like our team in Collingwood, like Collingwood's sort of a low-income area, so I know they have some. Almost every night of the week, they offer classes for free to underprivileged kids because like jiu-jitsu is an expensive sport. Like you said, like you have to buy the gi. Like mat fees are expensive. I mean, it's expensive to compete in tournaments. Like if you want to compete in the IBJJF, that's going to set you back a lot of money. So yeah, it would be good to see more opportunity for kids to learn it and maybe a sort of a free environment. But I think you can do both. You know what I mean? I think the white collar can remain, but maybe teaching to underprivileged kids would help that grow.
Now, concerning gis and whatnot, let's talk about that. What is the difference between a $300 gi, $100 gi, or really should you go by reputation? Who says which gi is the best? Reviews. Like when you're buying a gi, like what are you supposed to do, man? Because there's such a huge price discrepancy in between gis. Which ones are the best? Which ones are the worst? What are things you could look for? What would you tell your white belt, new, aspiring Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts? What should they do when they're looking for a gi? Or would you prescribe any? Or do you have any sponsors that you would or any gi people that sponsor you that you would advise? There we go.
It is tough to pick the gis because I mean, yeah, like they range in price. Like I know show-year-old gis are probably the most expensive gis on the market, if not in resale. Like I know some of those gis are reselling for over $1,000 US. They're like collector's items.
Why?
What's that? The limited edition ones, like the limited edition runs.
Like they'll do like a small batch, so they'll limit how many are for sale. So sort of that really increases the demand because people think they're going to miss out. Like I guess they're copying what like Nike do when they release a limited run sneaker. But yeah, in terms of buying a gi, my sponsor in Australia I actually used to work for the company, so I made sure the new range of gis were like perfect fitted for me in a sense. So like I made him buy the best quality and stuff. So actually worked out well for me. But I mean, there's a lot of great gi brands out there. But I think the best bet, you just got to go in there, you got to try them on. Really make sure they fit. Pick a gi a little bit too big for you so you can shrink it in the dryer.
Wait a minute, whoa. What do you mean shrink it in the fucking dryer? I thought you weren't supposed to put gis in the dryer.
Man, if you're training 2 times a day, you got to use the dryer. Or if you live somewhere cold like Melbourne.
Like for how long? You don't put it in the dryer like.
I'll throw it in there for a couple of hours. They're pretty tough.
Really? And they don't shrink? They're 100% cotton, aren't they?
They shrink. From a brand new gi, you lose about 5%, and then it won't shrink anymore, really.
You're gonna fuck somebody's gi up, Jones. You telling people to do that? Are you fucking sure, man?
Look, Laurent's concerned with his gi not fitting anymore.
Yeah, man, you gotta fuck my gi up, Jones. I'm gonna put my shit in the dryer. It's gonna be fucking ruined, and then I'm not putting.
Don't put it in the microwave.
I mean, so you can actually what kind of gi do you use? You say is what kind?
I use a MA1. There's a brand in Australia called MA1, and they make so I'll wear like an A2 tool because I'm like I've got like these knuckle dragging arms and long legs, so I have to find a gi that fits me well.
So you say you'll lose 5% of it, and then you won't lose any more.
Yeah, you're safe after about that time. But I mean,
this is what Craig. Guys. I'm not the one that told you to put your gis in the dryer. So if you fuck your shit up, write Craig Jones nasty messages on Facebook.
Go buy an MA1 gi from Australia.
Okay.
What a plug. Actually, so let me. Okay, yeah. Let me actually. I hate to interrupt, but let me actually ask Craig a question here. So, Craig, when I was doing some research, right, I saw that you graduated college with a degree in psychology, right? So now my question is, do you think that helps you or that translates into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? And the reason I ask, right, is because a lot of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is mental warfare, like a mental chess match, right? Is you're going for certain holds or certain positions, or you're trying to kind of bait your opponent into doing something. So you think that course of study or that understanding of the human mindset helps you in your Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game?
It's tough. It's tough to say. I mean, maybe if I specialized in like sports psychology, it would have helped. But yeah, I don't think so. Really, I mean, it's tough to say. It's tough to translate that to competition. I mean, some of the stuff I learned, like they taught us about like mindfulness meditation and stuff, and like sort of managing a bit of performance anxiety, but nothing really while I'm on the mats. You know what I mean? Maybe keeping my brain healthy leading up. It has helped a lot, but once I'm out there, it's sort of you don't really have too much time to think in the while you're competing.
Do you have any yeah, I was reading I believe Saulo Ribero's Jiu-Jitsu University. If you think you are late, this is what his theory is, and I think that's probably right. But Craig, what competitions do you have coming up in the future? Like Submission Underground, I'm to understand. What else? What else do you just did a Submission Underground? What else do you have coming up?
I've got a super fight in Australia in Coffs Harbour against a guy called Bob Ferraz. He's one of the best guys in the country. And then I've got a super fight against Kit Dale in Melbourne. So it's pretty funny because we've made a DVD together. I don't know. We might be the first guys to have a DVD together that are going to fight. So that should be pretty cool. And then EBI, the open weight tournament in Austin, Texas. So that one will be December 3rd. So that should be pretty fun as well.
Wait a minute. If you guys got a DVD, why are you fighting? What's going on here? Is there bad blood? Is it a grudge match? Did you eat his Pop-Tarts or something like that? What the fuck happened? You fall out?
I mean, if the price is right, you have to do it, right?
Oh, okay, all right. So this is about the money. So some sicko out there got you guys to pit each other against each other to try and bring some money.
The guy that runs Grappling Industries in Australia trains with both of us, so he's like pitting us off against each other. Some evil stuff.
Have you ever thought about I know we talked about you fell in love with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but have you ever thought about scooping up a little, some big money in mixed martial arts, taking some fights like taking the Ben Askren road, keeping it low level, fighting guys over in the Philippines or something, making $100,000 a fight and robbing the bank? Have you ever thought about doing that before?
Yeah, definitely. When I saw Gabby Garcia fight that old woman in Risen, I was like, they got to give me one of those matches.
We'll get you a grandpa.
Hell yeah. Get you a grandpa or get you a paraplegic or something like that and let you go to town, man. Would you consider mixed martial arts under those circumstances? Okay. But if you got to go against like full body people, would you consider it? You probably don't want to take no damage, huh?
Yeah, I mean, the tricky thing is like right now, because I haven't accomplished the goals. My goals sort of in the grappling world, like for me to start dedicating myself. Like right now, it'd be pretty difficult to switch to MMA and make it to a super high level. I know there's some guys that have done it, like Damian Maia, but like for me to dedicate myself to even one MMA fight would take away from my sort of submission grappling training and limit me achieving my goals there. So, I mean, maybe if I take out ADCC, I'd love a different challenge like that.
Oh, how old are you, by the way? I forgot to get your age.
26.
26. Okay, so shit, you're just good, ripe and young. You still got a nice, ripe, young age. I don't know if I have anything else for you at this time, Mr. Jones. What about you, Dave? Anything?
I guess so. Outside of outside of the EBI and the super fight that you're having in Australia, are there any competitors that you want to see down the line in a super fight, or is there any bad blood between you and any other Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competitors? I know that there's been like a lot of bad blood between the Danaher Death Squad guys and Dylan Dennis in the past, and that's kind of made for some interesting fights or super fights between like Dylan and Gary Tonin this past summer. So I was just wondering if there's any person that you really just can't stand and you just want to see in a grappling match, or if there's any, super fight that could draw some decent money that you would love to have, or just, some vengeance you want in the sport of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Craig.
I mean, no bad blood with anyone. Like, Gordon, I guess, like after winning ADCC, I see him as the number one submission grappler in my weight division, whether that's like EBI rules or ADCC rules with points. So he did beat me, but I would I would love that rematch. And then again, like I'd love another match with Shanji, but I think that one would be pretty hard to put together. I mean, any of these top level guys, I really want to test myself against. After with training for ADCC, I was teaching almost like 2 to 3 classes a day, a bunch of privates, and I'd only be able to get in sort of one hard training session for myself. But after the ADCC success, I've had a lot more opportunities to make money in the sport. So I think for the future, I'm going to be in a much better position to compete against these sort of full-time grapplers, because I'll be able to dedicate myself 100% to training and make money in other ways.
How much cardio do you do?
None. Just all I do is roll.
Oh, so since it is an anaerobic activity, then aerobic condition is kind of useless? Or what do you think the role of cardio is? Because I found that I was running a lot. I was running like 4 miles 3 or 4 times a week. And then I started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I was tired in a motherfucker, boy. So I found as I started rolling, I was like, damn, it feel like I don't even run. But now as I started rolling, I started getting used to, because it is an anaerobic activity like lifting weights or something like that. So aerobic conditioning probably doesn't have much use in it. But wrestlers run a lot. I mean, why don't you think it's as effective in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
I think it's probably really effective. I just hate running.
Okay, so you're a lazy motherfucker, Craig. You got to do that shit, man.
Yeah, my diet's terrible. My cardio's terrible. I lift some weights, but mainly just to look big for the cameras.
Okay, all right. Okay, I think that is it for today. Craig, who should we try and get on next? Like,
who next? I would reach out to Kit. Kit Dale's pretty funny. Have you guys seen him on his social media and stuff?
I have no idea who Kit Dale even is. You have to introduce us.
I'll send you guys some clips. He's pretty funny. He's actually probably one of the most famous grapplers in the world, just based on his online persona.
I've got a Gracie legend that's supposed to be coming on pretty soon. I won't say which one, but I just wanted some possible interview ideas. Anyway, before we get out of here, we've got one last thing for you. I've got my interview with Robert Turnquest, and it's super interesting because for Robert Turnquest's next fight, according to his word, I'm going to be flying out, doing a live podcast with Robert Turnquest. He's flying me out to wherever he fights next. I already got him the official School of BlackNegrojitsu t-shirt, the first one ever. I'm going to be getting the merchandise out there soon, but Turnquest, Arm Snapper Supreme, you've got to look at his YouTube videos or look at YouTube and Titan FC. He snapped 2 arms in brutal fashion from the Kesagatami position. I guess one was a straight arm lock. What is that called, Craig Jones? The straight arm lock from Kesagatami. What do you call that?
I should know. I don't even know.
Jesus Christ, you're supposed to be a black belt. Don't you supposed to know? All right. And then the other one, I don't know. It's when the arm is bent and you twist it back, kind of like an Americana with the legs. He got one of those arm snap. In one of the arm snapping videos, you actually hear the snap. With Robert Turnquest, we had a super interesting conversation about the national anthem protest. He's a veteran. We talked about Cotty Rob, of course. I talked about it on the last podcast. We had a wonderful conversation, and we're supposed to be having a live School of BlackNegrojitsu from wherever Robert Turnquest fights next. Craig, since we're right on this topic, what do you think of the national anthem? I hate to call them protests, but what do you think of the controversy surrounding it? Are you at all familiar with that situation that the Defense Department paid the NFL a lot of money to bring the players out for the national anthem? Colin Kaepernick interrupted that, and now he's being punished for that. He fucked up the money pretty much. Do you know anything about that? Being from Australia?
Yeah, so what? They're not standing up for the national anthem, right?
No, but the controversy really is the fact that it's not about the national anthem. It's about the money the NFL poured into recruiting, because that was a paid for event by the government.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I'm not sure.
Does shit like that happen in Australia? What does that happen down under?
Yeah, there's been some things happening in Australia with like the sort of like the indigenous people not wanting to stand for the the Australian anthem and stuff.
Oh, the
There's been
Aborigines,
some,
really?
yeah, there's been some protests like that in sport, but it definitely is very public over there. But I know what's happening right now is like huge news in America. I think maybe you guys are a lot more nationalistic or patriotic, right?
Well, I would
There's a lot
say
more
that
patriotic.
white people are not black people like me.
Yeah.
They tend to be more. I'm more like the Aborigines, Craig, man. Yeah, but the white folks over here, they love the flag. They love the Confederate flag. Shit, I mean that stuff. They
That's
won't let go
crazy.
of that motherfucker. So, white folks, man, that's how they are. But that's not me.
Yeah, no, I
That's
think it's fine. I think I agree if they want to make a peaceful protest like that, then they're sort of entitled to do so.
all right. Let's get into that Robert Turnquest interview though. Let's tune in right now. Robert Turnquest, welcome to the School of BlackNegrojitsu. Excellent to have you here. Seems like you're lately the master of viral videos. But before we get into the questions, let's go ahead and get into your background. Like, how did you get into the martial arts? I believe I heard a story about walking into a boxing gym, seeing blood, and immediately fleeing in fear to the judo gym. Tell us about that. Tell us about how how you kind of progressed through the martial arts up until the beginning of your mixed martial arts career, and then I'll kind of take it from there.
All right, so that story you heard is partially accurate. My mom took me to. So I got beat up at the bus stop when I was in elementary school, and my mom took me to a boxing gym. And we walked in. She saw a kid get his nose just split open, and she pulled me out. I didn't flee in terror to the judo gym. I started at a recreation center, and they provided like 8-week classes, and it was $10 for 8 weeks, and it was a very low budget, like a underprivileged program. So I started there when I was 5. Wrestled in high school. Started on the Armed Forces judo team in 2006. I was
What
in
is
the Navy
that?
for
What is
14.
what is the Armed Forces judo team?
So they have like all Navy wrestling or all Army wrestling or all Army boxing. And then once a year, they do a world championships that's just for military. So it's the same as the world championships for civilians. And actually, you get a lot of the Olympians for other countries are in their militaries. So I've competed against like a lot of top Olympians and things like that at the military world championships. And then every 4 years, just like the Olympics, they do a military world games, where you have all the sports come together. You have a couple thousand athletes participating in, every sport that's in the Olympics, plus a couple that are just military specific. So the Armed Forces judo team is the best judo athletes from each branch of service that got together, and then we train for a couple weeks, and then we go off to the military world championships.
Okay, all right. Just wondering, because I was listening and I heard you say that. I was like, well, I think that's something serious, but I don't know what the hell it is. So yeah, all right, go ahead and continue from there.
Yeah, I would say it's kind of serious. It takes a lot to qualify for it, and like I said, I've competed against Olympians and stuff like that. That if I didn't have the opportunity from the Armed Forces, I wouldn't have ever been able to step on the mat with those level guys. So I did that from 2007 till 2015. I was on that team. In 2012, I got stationed in Pensacola, Florida, and I actually had a couple amateur fights before I got here with no training whatsoever. I had a friend that called me and was like, hey, he and I had just deployed to Africa together. And he was like, hey, there's a promotion out here in Kansas City, Missouri that's looking for a fighter. He's like, you want to do it? And I said,
What promotion? What promotion? That's my home state. I'm from St. Louis.
Ultimate Blue Corner Battles.
Ah, shit. Nah. Go ahead. Keep going.
What's the story behind that?
No, I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, so I was just wondering.
Okay. So yeah, they flew me out there. Uh, I fought a hometown guy, Derek Holly, and I lost. Man, I fought at 205. I walked in weighing 204. Didn't cut weight or anything. He cut from like 225 or some ridiculous shit. And I won the first round, and then I just gassed out, and he beat the piss out of me for the next 2 rounds. But that shit was fun. So I had a good time with that. And then I was like, man, I want to do that again. But immediately after I returned from that, I got sent to Korea. And so I had a couple amateur fights in Korea, again, that I didn't train for.
Because you
I
were
won
a part of. So you got sent to Korea because you were part of the armed forces, right?
Yes.
Okay, I think you left that out, or did you include that you had
No, I
enrolled in
didn't. I
armed?
didn't see that. No, I got orders to Korea, and that's why I went over there.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
go ahead,
so
continue.
had a couple fights while I was over there. I won a couple. I lost one. I got here to Pensacola, Florida, and I was like, all right, now that I'm going to be here for a few years, I want to take this serious. So then I started training as soon as I got here. Had my first fight that I actually trained for 3 months later, and then it just kind of went from there. I fought amateur for 2 years. I went 9-3 as an amateur, and then decided to turn pro.
All right, so you're a former military veteran. Been a lot with military and sports going on lately. Mainly Colin Kaepernick controversy, and we ran a little segment on this a couple weeks ago because of his connection to fighting. I found it kind of weird that the media was covering the fact that Ramzan Kadyrov. You familiar with Kadyrov?
Yeah, I'm very familiar with. Yes.
Okay, the Chechen dictator. I don't know if you've been over there. I know Kurt Hollabaugh actually has been over to Chechnya, fought in Chechnya, and met him.
He fought for the Akhmat fighting championships. Exactly.
And we had him on, and I found something intriguing about the situation. The fact that everybody at least that Kadyrov supports, they've been able to have successful mixed martial arts careers. And I found it strange that he was being painted as a kind of somebody that's taking advantage of his own, in the light of the fact that here in the United States, American athletes like Muhammad Ali or Colin Kaepernick, who have refused to allow the sports to be used as a platform to kind of recruit the kids, because Colin Kaepernick really, it looks to me, is getting punished because the United States military Defense Department paid for the national anthem. They didn't start paying for it till or start playing it till 2009, and it was because of the Defense Department contributions. Do you feel like the players, if they were to ever take a knee during the national anthem or anything like that, do you feel like that there's a moral, that America has a moral obligation to shun them or hate them or anything like that? Do you feel like they have a right to do that, or do you feel like it's just war profiteering? I mean, how have you felt like that as a veteran that's also an athlete and a part of a sport that is extraordinarily key to like recruiting kids into the military? You see Fight for the Troops, or you see the WWE have their military programs. Military invests a lot of recruitment dollars into sports because they are the same demographic as recruiting. But how do you feel about that?
So, first off, let me say, I support the fact that, no, okay, I'm not going to say I support. Let me rephrase that. Colin Kaepernick and all the athletes that decide they want to take a knee, they have that right. That is completely on them. However, I feel like it is extremely disrespectful. I understand what they're trying to do. I understand they're trying to bring attention to a certain situation, and their personal feelings about it. I understand why they're taking the knee. However, I think that they're being extremely disrespectful to the military and to just the United States as a whole when they do that. So, do I agree with it? No. Did I fight to give him the right to take a knee if he wants to be a little crybaby bitch about it? Yes. So that's kind of where I'm at. So if he wants to take a knee, great. But don't be mad when everybody says that's disrespectful, because it is. And don't be mad when he gets shunned for it.
All right, I got another question for you. Now, another veteran is the person that was the most aggressive in uncovering the fact that the national anthem and these different ceremonies at games were paid for and not legitimate acts of patriotism. That's one, Senator John McCain, a veteran just like you. He thought it was wrong, forcing the players to be a part of something that they don't agree with or that they're being used for in order to influence kids. How do you feel about the money that's being poured into recruiting? And I think that's the story there. I don't think it's so much standing or kneeling for the national anthem, because people do that. If you're not in the military, you don't have out in the military. You must stand for the national anthem, even if you are in prison. I believe if you're in Leavenworth or any other prison, do you not have to stand for the national anthem every morning? Right?
You know, it's not played every morning. We have colors every morning, and yeah, you
It's
do.
colors every morning.
If you're outside, you stop, you salute the flag, and if you can't see it, you just salute in the general direction of it.
Okay.
And yeah, it is a recruitment thing, to an extent. But
Well, okay. Now there's my question though. Since it's a recruitment thing, and the United States military does not work by conscription, you do not. There is no mandatory military service. That is dead. If you enter the military, you have volunteered to do so, and so your oath to protect the Constitution and obey superior officers and salute the flag and live by the flag code is in fact voluntary. Okay. Why would a professional football player or fighter or anybody in these professional sports organizations, and you're a fighter now, how would you feel if you went to Chechnya or Korea and they made you be a part of some and football is a global sport too, a nationalistic type thing, because mixed martial arts is a sport from everybody around the world. I assume that you fought people from everywhere around the world. You competed against people from all around the world. Like yeah, like what? How do you feel about the fact?
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you go to, and I'll use military world games as an example. When you go to the military world games, whatever country wins, just like the Olympics, the country that wins the gold medal, they play their anthem during the medal ceremony, right?
Right.
Everybody stands. Whether you're from that country or not, you don't have to salute the flag. You don't have to put your hand over your heart. You don't have to do anything like that. But you stand as a sign of respect. If you don't stand, that is just being disrespectful. When I went to Russia, I fought for M1 Global. I went to Russia. When they played their anthem before the fight started, I was in the locker room. Nobody would have known if I stayed, sitting or I kept warming up. No, I stopped and I stood at attention. When you acknowledge the anthem, when you acknowledge the flag of any country, it's just showing respect. So when you decide you're going to kneel and not show respect, then don't be mad when people say he's being disrespectful to the flag.
Mm-hmm. And you don't feel like that there's any Muhammad Ali like hypocrisy to it, and that you're seen as a big time sports athlete, a big time recruitment tool, and they just kind of punishing you because you kind of hurting recruiting. I think that's more what it is than anything else. You just see it as disrespecting, huh?
I just see it as disrespecting. But if you want to talk about it like that, your employer is paid a certain amount from the government. And
right.
That amount goes towards, making sure there's a whole ceremony for the national anthem and everything like that. Your employer pays you, right? So you you should have respect for your employer. If your employer says you're going to stand, you're going to stand. You're not going to go
okay, so if you fought for Akhmat and in Chechnya, and they were going to have something for the Chechen government, would you stand for it? What would you do?
Yeah, I would stand. Any country that I've been to,
no matter if they were doing something detestable.
Hold on, but see, that's the choice. Like, if I fought for Akhmat, I know what he's done before I go over there. So I make that choice to go over there. So if I make the choice to go over there and he's the one that's paying me to fight and he flew me out there, who am I to say, you know what, even though I'm going to accept your money, I'm not going to respect you. I'm not going to respect your country. I'm not going to respect everything else.
Okay, very interesting. Now, being a veteran, you have a very good. Okay. So, I mean, it gets kind of complicated sometimes when you're in countries that have, let's say, like they have groups that separatist groups. What's up? Go ahead.
Yeah, but hold on. But
like Ukraine or something like that, where you have you know.
No, let Colin Kaepernick or any of these professional athletes be citizens in another country. Mm-hmm. If he was a citizen in Chechnya and he doesn't agree with everything that Ramzan Kadyrov has been charged of or accused of, and he's in Ramzan's presence and they're playing the anthem and he decides, I'm going to kneel, what do you think is going to happen then?
I don't know, Robert. I just want to pick.
I will tell you.
I want to pick your brain.
He's going to get thrown in jail at a bare minimum. Most other countries, and you know, Americans don't really realize just how good we have it. You have the right to protest if you don't like what the government is doing. If you go to another country, particularly the Middle East and Africa, you go to another country and you protest what the government is doing, you're either getting thrown in jail or you're getting shot. I have seen people.
I'd say it happens here. I'd say it happens here too. You look at the legacy of American dissidents. Martin Luther King Jr., James Former, all those protesters in American history, they were shot, killed, thrown in jail. I mean, what's the difference between here and anywhere else? Protesters get their ass whipped here, they get their ass whipped there. I'd say. You wouldn't say so?
They do to an no, you're right. They do to a certain extent. But once they're all right, Martin Luther King was thrown in jail.
And all his friends. And they were singing gospel songs in the streets, you know? And they're the nicest protesters.
Yeah. Right. Malcolm X was also thrown in jail. Right?
Was he? Did he ever join any protests? I don't know. Well, go ahead. Just keep going. There's a lot of them. We'll just say that.
But what did they do? They went to jail, served their time, came out, continued protesting, and they put themselves in a position where they could not be thrown in jail. When you give the government something that they can use against you, they're going to. If you give the government something they can use against you, an excuse, a reason to throw you in jail, and then you decide you're going to protest the government, they're going to use that reason, that excuse that they have.
So I don't know. All right, we'll get off this because I want to get to the rest of the interview. But it's very interesting. I'm not saying that it's right. I'm not saying that the government should throw people in jail. I'm not saying people don't have the right to protest. You have the right to protest. You have the right to take a knee. But is it really even a protest? Is it just like, well, I don't want to participate in the national anthem, which a lot of regular citizens do, especially black ones. I mean, I remember being in school and I don't even think they played the national anthem. I think they played Lift Every Voice and Sing, you know?
When I was in elementary school, we said the Pledge of Allegiance. So, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Well, it all depends on where you're from, too, and what the demographic of people. But I remember, especially during Black History Month, it would be Lift Every Voice and Sing. But anyway, past that, I wanted to ask you that as a fighter who's been around the world, how you felt about that. And we had recently covered it. The Kadyrov files, we had a Russian journalist on. So I ask everybody that has good knowledge of military world about that question. But on to Robert Turnquest. You are a judo black belt, a Brazilian jiu-jitsu purple belt, I believe now. And watching you fight, you've been really big on the judo. I think even after your Cavalcante fight, I think a lot of people thought that maybe a little too one-dimensional. Why do you love judo so much for mixed martial arts? It's not proven to be very extraordinarily effective outside of Ronda Rousey. I know that Karo Parisian had spots of success here and there. old boy from Bellator. Who am I thinking of? You know who I'm thinking of?
Yeah, Rick Hahn.
Rick Hahn, Ramsey Theory, Sokoju. He had some good success as a judoka. Dan Kelly has had some success. Why do you like judo so much? Why have you stuck to it so much in your fighting? And when other people see it as a limited skill set, I mean, why are you carrying it to or using it like you do?
So it's funny because I actually was going to ask you about your feelings about judo because I listened to your podcast that had Andrea KGB on, and you guys talked about Ronda Rousey, and talked about her Edmund Tavardian wanting her to make a comeback, and about judo being basically the only thing that she has, and I listened to yours, and there was another gentleman that was talking with you. I can't think of his name right now.
It's either my co-instructor Dave or co-instructor Mike. One of them. I believe it was Dave. Just Dave. Yeah.
Yeah. But I was listening to you guys' opinions on it, and I thought it was kind of interesting. So I think judo is an underrated sport, right? You see most of the people that have a lot of success in the UFC and in mixed martial arts in general, they're wrestlers and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu athletes, right?
Right.
Look at the number of people that do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Look at the number of people that actually wrestle. Judo just doesn't have the same numbers that those other sports have. Judo has never had those numbers, especially in the United States, that those other sports have had. You see high schools with wrestling teams that have a varsity team, a junior varsity team, a freshman team, and all three of those teams cut people. So when you say that judo is not as effective of a sport, or it's one-dimensional, you don't see any wrestlers that come in and all they use is wrestling, right? Everybody has to learn the other sports. It is mixed martial arts. You have to learn how to box. You have to learn some jiu-jitsu or at least some catch wrestling, So I just think it's interesting that everybody thinks that judo isn't on the level of these other sports when it's not that it's not on the level. It's just that we don't have the numbers. If you look
so you think it's listen, honestly, I think most people from the sample size of martial arts history would say, let's just look at Georges St. Pierre versus Cairo, the Heat Parisian. Wrestling always beats judo. I mean, judo is an excellent complement to a well-rounded skill set. But does wrestling
really always beat judo? Two people that I admire greatly were both Division I wrestlers, and they were both some of the top judo athletes in the country. Jason Morris and Jimmy Pedro, right?
And judo was their base?
Judo was their base, and they both wrestled in Division I college. And because
What style of wrestling?
Collegiate wrestling.
No. Freestyle, folk style, Greco-Roman.
I think collegiate wrestling is just collegiate wrestling. It's separate from freestyle and folk and Greco-Roman. No, so I guess it's more folk style.
Like college wrestling is split into, I believe, there are folk style, there are Greco-Roman, I believe, and freestyle. I grew up playing football.
As far as I know, college wrestling is collegiate wrestling, which is folk style.
Okay. All right.
They don't maybe so. Because I know that Jordan Burroughs and Kyle Dake, they both wrestled in college, and then as soon as they got out of college, they had to make that transition quick, especially Jordan Burroughs, because he had 3 months from when he graduated college to when he went to the Olympics. But they were both highly, highly successful. Jason Morris and Jimmy Pedro were both highly, highly successful using primarily judo at the Division I wrestling level. But the thing is that how many judo clubs do you know of in your town?
I don't think I know of any, sir.
And how many high schools do you know of that have a wrestling team?
None.
Whoa,
everyone, excuse me. I thought you said high school have a judo team. Yeah.
No. It's just a numbers game. It's just like soccer, right? How many high schools put the same amount of money into soccer that they put into basketball and football in the United States?
Not many at all. But I
So
mean,
why
okay,
is the why so
you
why
don't
is the
think
United
judo?
States falling so far behind?
Oh, because people don't. It's not popular, and the best athletes aren't playing
Right.
soccer. You know. But
Right,
here's
exactly.
my
And
question.
it's the same. It's the same way. If Ronda Rousey had been in the first UFC,
Mhm.
right? If it was Ronda Rousey instead of Royce Gracie, all those people would have been like, "I'm going to go do judo." But no, Royce Gracie went in, wrecked shop for 2 UFCs, and then partially through the third one, and everybody said, "Oh shit, what is this? I want to go do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu."
I personally think judo probably is more deep from a standpoint of getting the fight to the ground than Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But
It
I don't
is, but
think,
also
yeah.
on the ground, people don't realize that all the submissions that they have in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, we have all those same ones in judo. The
But it's
only
more.
difference
But
is,
arm locks are more the focus.
nope, arm
No.
locks, and we have arm locks, chokes, and pins. The only
Okay.
difference
Now
is
hold on.
for
Now once you
judo,
hit the ground in judo, you only get like 10 seconds, right, or something like that.
it used to be like that up until about 2 years ago. We had to make the transition quick. So you see how fast when Ronda gets on the ground, she makes that transition straight to her armbar.
Right.
It was, you hit the ground, you've got 10 to 15 seconds, you got to make that transition quick. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you hit the ground, you've got, the rest of the match. They're not going to stand you back up. So I think that judo is underrated because we have the same submissions, we have the same groundwork. We can actually hit them faster in transition from when we go from standing to the ground. We don't have to pull guard and sit on our ass and butt scoot across the mat. I really think that judo is underrated, and it's not for any other reason other than numbers. It is just a numbers game. Just like why the U.S. falls behind in soccer, because we don't put the same money into it. We don't have the same number of people. It's not as popular. Judo is just not as popular, and we just don't have the numbers.
Okay. I am not that big of a judo enthusiast. It's just the fact that I mean, mixed martial arts has been around for 20 or 30 years now, and judokas have just never done all that well. And maybe that's just because of numbers. You've only had 4 or 5, and they really haven't been able to, like, the ones we have seen have been few far between, and we've never really seen one round out their game that I can think of really well, or be a great athlete, a great enough athlete to round out their game to be a top fighter, except for Ronda Rousey. She did pretty good, not good enough at rounding out her game to get to that, unbeatable place. She never got the elite striking. She only got a decent amount of striking. But you might be right, Mr. Turnquest. That might be the reason why judo has never really produced a mixed martial arts champion, is because they are so few and far between. I do think that judokas have the most elite, or at least Ronda Rousey. She's got the most elite armbar game, and that is because of how she has how judo forces you to make those quick transitions. But that's a great point though. When I really think about it, because what doesn't judo offer you? You got double legs, you got takedown defense. I mean, look at how good Dan Kelly is in the back end of his athleticism with judo.
But you know what? Look at how good Dan Kelly is, and look at how old he is. No offense to Dan, I'm a huge fan of Dan Kelly. Like when he who did he fight? He just fought him. Was it
Rashad Evans?
Yeah, Rashad Evans.
Rashad Evans.
Dan Kelly fought Rashad Evans. Love Rashad Evans also, but I was rooting for Dan Kelly just for the judo aspect. Dan Kelly is old. We haven't had any young up and coming judo athletes step into mixed martial arts, but I think in the next 10 to 15 years, you're going to see that change. You've got Pauline Macias, who is getting into judo. She was one of the top judokas in the country for a while. Travis Stevens has hinted at getting into judo. I don't know if you know who he is. He's a Olympic silver medalist. He's a very highly decorated judo athlete and a highly decorated Brazilian jiu-jitsu athlete. So I think in the next 10 to 15 years, you're going to see more judo athletes in mixed martial arts. But I also think that in the next 10 to 15 years, you're going to see more well-rounded athletes in mixed martial arts. In 10, 15 years, we're going to be getting all the kids that grew up watching UFC like we grew up watching basketball, baseball, and football.
Right, right. That's a great point. Maybe judo doesn't have the limitations, but because of the lack of number of judokas that we've had, we haven't been able to see judokas round out. Because there have been plenty of wrestlers who have been one-dimensional. Mark Coleman, Kevin Randleman, they never rounded out their games, and eventually that caught up with them later as the sport began to progress and or evolve, however you would like to say it. So that might be a great point, because judo, it does give you that advantage of arm locks in transitions and whatnot, and you guys are positionally sound and have strong bases. So good point, Mr. Turnquest. Probably took a judo black belt to point that out. But let's talk about you snapping arms. You've got a couple viral videos of arm snapping events here. One, which is especially gruesome, of DK Woods a couple years ago, where you hear the snap actually. And I've only watched the Taylor Cross snapping of arms without sound. But you have your judo throws to inside scarf position, and then those arm locks. I've only really seen you and Cindy Dandois use those arm locks and finish people. Why do you love the throws to inside scarf position so much? That burns a lot of, especially you see it in women's strawweight. They have they arm throws, and then they're not really elite at it. They lose the position or people just are prone to it, but they don't finish well when they get there. Why do you love that position so much, man?
So that position, you get against the cage, you get your back pressed against the cage, and what's the first thing everybody says? They say go for double unders. If you're on the outside, if you're the person pressing back, they say go for double unders. And when someone grabs double unders on me, you are fully committing your body to being attached to my body, and you completely open yourself up for a head and arm throw. It's just a natural transition. My coaches actually don't like it. They're like, hey, fight for your underhooks, fight for at least one underhook, do something. But I've just been doing judo for so long that whenever I get in that position, if I know they are committed to holding on to those double unders, it leaves a wide open throw. I think that a lot of the reason that the strawweights don't finish it is because you hit the ground. If you're not careful, they're taking your back. Like immediately, right. They're going to take your back. And I think that you have to have that built-in instincts, or I don't know what you want to call it, but you have to know
that muscle memory, man.
Yeah, the muscle memory. There you go. You have to know the muscle memory. You have to know what the dangers are when you do the throw. You have to know that, hey, when I hit the ground, that person is scrambling and they're going straight to my back, and I have to know to either turn into them or secure that position immediately.
Okay, yeah, and what's up? What do you call those arm locks, which you snap both those arms with? I only seen you and Cindy Dandois that I can think of off the top of my head really finish in those positions. I don't think I ever seen even Ronda Rousey get finishes from there. But why do you love them so much? Why have you been able to snap so many arms? I think you might have the most brutal series of those arm locks in mixed martial arts.
I think that a lot of the reason that I've been successful in mixed martial arts with that particular move, and in
what's that called?
Brazilian, it's just a case of gatame, and you hear it either called a figure four arm lock or an Americana, because it's the same as the Americana, it's just with your legs instead. Mm-hmm. But I think the reason that I've been successful with it is because a lot of people tell you get to this position, you have to go to this next position. You get to the ground, they tell you you don't want to hold around the head because, again, like I said, they'll take your back if you hold it and they get free. So they tell you, you have to transition. You have to move from there. And again, it's not something my coaches like. They absolutely hate it. But I, a lot of times, do what is not expected. In Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you go to one position, they say you have to go here, and I'm like, nah, I'm not going to go there. I'm going to go over to this other position. And because it catches people off guard and it catches them by surprise, I think that's the only reason it's successful. They expect you to go one way, and you're like, nah, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go somewhere else.
I see. So because judo is such an underused and underutilized skill, then you believe that, and that's why I believe that Ronda Rousey had so much early success with her grappling, is because no one knew what to expect. Now that everybody knows what to expect, the effectiveness of her judo, even when she goes crazy for those scrambles or just goes Cairo Parisian and just dives into some sort of weird positional scramble, it's not effective like it used to be, man. And that's why I really was a critic of judo, because it seems like you can learn about the positions in that, because the transition, it seems so simple of a sport. Now, of course, it's not easy. You see Hector Lombard and people like that. I mean, they've got great judo, and people still can't, especially Hector Lombard. I wish he wasn't such a screw up, but look how effective his grappling is. He's throwing around Dan Henderson, throwing around these guys that other people don't throw around in grappling. And but yeah, it just feels like to me you can prepare for it and shut it down though. You don't feel that way though?
I feel like there's some main throws and main things that people see a lot. The head and arm. Everybody sees the head and arm. They know the head and arm's coming. So that's easy to prepare for.
Is that no Soto Gore? Is that what that is?
No, Soto Gore is an outside trip.
Okay.
But Cairo Parisian and Rick Hahn, they both used a lot of judo. An inside leg trip, and Ouchigari. They've used Ippon Sayanagi, a throw. I can send you a video after this of Rick Hahn throwing somebody and almost knocking him out. It was one punch after he threw the guy that the fight was ended. It's just that the main throws and the main things that you see happen to be the most common. So they're easy to anticipate, and they're easy to practice for and everything like that. Judo has 65 throws. Are all of them applicable in MMA? No, not even close. But there's a lot more that is yet to be seen from judo athletes. And hopefully I'm going to show you guys some of those things. I've been working on a lot of them. And hopefully whenever I get my next fight scheduled, I'm going to surprise a lot of people and show them some things that they haven't seen yet.
So what are your goals in your career? We talked about you snapping arms. We talked about your background. Like, what do you want to? You're fighting in Titan FC right now. What do you want your ceiling to be? What do you think that you lack right now? I guess a lot of people have been critical of your striking and your losses to Calvin Conte and Stevens. I assume that was your downfall, was your striking, or just consistently throughout your career. KO, TKO, KO, TKO. What do you feel like where do you want to, what's your ceiling? How do you feel it? What do you want to accomplish? What do you think you need to get better at? I think I heard you talking with James Lynch about improving your striking and becoming less one-dimensional. You said you were eating cleaner. Tell us about your diet. Tell us about all the things you're improving to get wherever it is you want to go, and tell us where you want to go.
So, like any fighter, the UFC is the place to be. The UFC boasts the best of the best fighters, and that's everybody's ultimate goal. Is to make it to the big show, to make it to UFC. So that's my goal as well. I am working on my striking. That's something that my first 4 professional fights, I won them all by submission in the first or second round, and I hadn't done one striking class. Period. Like not one at all. I had a teammate of mine, Mike Roberts, talked to one of the promoters after his fight, and he was like, yeah, so when's Rob going to get a shot at the belt? And the guy that they put me up against, a guy named Rance Jones, who was at the time the toughest guy in the area. He had just demolished everybody in about 30 seconds. They put me up against him. They're like, all right, Rob wants the belt. He's got to fight Rance. And we're like, all right, let's do it. So that was when I first started striking. And because I knew Rance was a tough guy. He was athletic. He was strong. I was like, there's no way I'm just going to be able to just run through this guy. So I started striking then, and man, I surprised everybody. I came out and I threw hands with Rance for 5 rounds straight. I made some tactical errors, and I ended up losing that fight by a split decision. But I learned a lot, and I improved my game a lot. I was able to win another fight down in the Bahamas, and then I came back and I fought Rance, and then I beat him the second time we fought. So striking is always something that I'm going to be working to improve, and I've got I'm not going to call it a secret weapon, but, I've got somebody that I'm working with striking that most people don't know about. And I think that, like I said, in my next fight, I'm going to come out and surprise a lot of people. So I think that on my next fight, people are going to see a different side of me that they have not seen before. And my next couple fights, actually, I plan on just running through people like it's nothing. I'm not under contract with Titan FC anymore. So right now we're looking for a fight. Titan FC has an event in November, and they have not contacted me about coming back and fighting for them. Taylor Crawl was a big ticket seller for Titan, so I don't imagine they are super excited to have me back after I took out a huge ticket seller, not once but twice for them. I don't know what's in the immediate future. I know that I've contacted a lot of promoters and told them, hey, give me a fight and I'll come up there and fight for free. I don't care who it is. Just give me a fight and I'll come up there and put on a show. So I can't tell you what my next fight is. I can tell you that my ultimate goal is the UFC. Like any fighter, that's the big show. And I can tell you that I'm working on my weaknesses every day. I'm not taking any time off since my last fight. I'm in the gym. I'm working. I've got a gym in my garage. I'm working. I really don't know what to say in that aspect other than I'm working. I'm going to surprise people. I'm going to come out and I'm going to make a name for myself, and I'm going to make it to the UFC and show people, a little bit of what I have.
All right, Robert, I think I need you to stay on the line, though, because I need to get your quick picks for the upcoming card. But thank you for your contribution here at the School of BlackNegrojitsu today. Excellent and very interesting conversation with you today, especially on the topic of judo. I never looked at judo that way. That's an interesting stance that you have on it. I think it might be true because Hector Lombard, he's got if he had more sense, he might be another guy that could be a judo-based champion. Great athlete, and his skill set is absolutely effective in mixed martial arts. Great points that you made on that, but thank you for your contribution to the School of BlackNegrojitsu. Hope to have you back one day. And
hold on.
If you got any shout-outs, go ahead.
No,
what's up?
I know that it's you interviewing me and everything like that, but I got to ask the name BlackNegrojitsu. How did you come up with that?
Motherfucker. Eve Edwards is a master of thug jitsu.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh boy is the master of redneck judo. Tim Bosch, I believe.
Yep.
And then you got Show Nuff, the master. You know what I'm saying? So I think somehow the master of something, Show Nuff, the master. Of course, Eve Edwards, the master of thug jitsu. I was like, I want my own martial art too. So I did BlackNegrojitsu. So I was like, on my fantasy podcast, I was like, I'm the master of BlackNegrojitsu. And when I was thinking of a general, because my fantasy podcast started in December last year, but like a couple months ago, and was it May, I decided I want to do a general MMA deal. And I was like, well, what should it be called? Since I'm the master of BlackNegrojitsu, I'm like, this should be the school. So that's how it started.
All right. So not being a dick, but is there white Negro Jitsu?
No, if you ever wanted to use that, you would have to be a BlackNegrojitsu practitioner. That's what you have to be. Yeah. It's for people of all colors. Like that. You say what?
I told some of my coaches that I was like, yo, I got to ask about that. Like, just that. I mean, it stands out. Trust me, it stands out.
It's
It's one
absolutely
that's gonna
exceptional, isn't it?
catch people's attention. You know, it hits all the bullet points. It's definitely something that I saw it and I was like, what is this? I gotta check this out. But yeah, I just wanted to ask about it. I just want to know like where that name came from.
Yeah, that's motherfucking attention getter. And do you like the art, man? What do you think of the podcast art?
I think it's pretty sick. It's pretty dope. If you had T-shirts, I would definitely rock one of your T-shirts.
Mr. Turnquest, the T-shirts are coming. Don't worry, and I will be sure. Since you said that, you're the first person to ask for one. I'll be sending you a School of BlackNegrojitsu T-shirt. So, yeah, the merchandise is coming soon. So I'm gonna send you one. I'm gonna get your size and everything, and you're gonna get a free School of BlackNegrojitsu T-shirt.
You send me a T-shirt, I will wear it as I walk out for my next fight.
I'll make sure to do that. All right. So I'm trying, because I was thinking about getting one for myself printed out, because I'm covering a fight pretty soon, but I might just get two, or I'm gonna have to get those done within the next couple weeks. Just tell me, when are you expecting to have a fight?
So I contacted pretty much every promoter that I've ever contacted in my entire life, and I told them, give me a fight, short notice, give me a month's notice, whatever. I don't care. My weight is on point. My training is on point. My cardio is on point. I am ready to go. I'm ready to fight right now. Right? So they call me right now and they say, hey, we want you to fight tomorrow. I will fucking make 170 right now and I will go fight. So I can't tell you when it is. Like I said, Titan FC has a card in November. They haven't contacted me about that. But I've reached out to every promoter I have, and hopefully I get something soon. But I also don't anticipate a lot of people wanting to fight me after my last fight. My record isn't great, 8-4. 8-4. They're like, oh,
you snap a couple arms though, and
yeah. And people they're hesitant about taking that fight. So, and I'm game. I'm coming to fight. Like I'm not coming to. I've made mistakes. I fought Jay-Z. I never fired off. I fought Mark Stevens. I never fired off, but I've fixed those holes that I have, or that I had mentally. I fixed, a lot of things in my game. So whoever steps in the ring with me next, or steps in the cage with me, whatever it is, like they're in for a rough night. I'm taking another arm home. Someone's getting submitted. It's going my way, and I'm gonna have 2 fights before this year is out. It is October. We're a couple days into October. And I guarantee you right now, I will have 2 more wins on my record before the end of the year.
All right, Mr. Turnquest, do you have any shout-outs before we get out of here?
Yeah, I just want to give a shout-out to Rapid Rehydration. They're one of my sponsors. They are what I use after every weight cut. It's made specifically for athletes that cut weight. It's made by one of my good friends, Ross McBasey. I want to give a shout-out to Musso Fight Gear. Musso Fight Gear, they do my walkout shirts, except for my next one, because I'm going to have your walkout shirt for my next one.
I'm going to make sure I get that one out.
And then Trahan Family Funeral Homes. They're my other sponsor. I'm a small-time fighter. I only got three sponsors. So if anybody wants to be on my walkout shirt, tell them to hit me up.
All right, and I'm going to try and make sure I get you that damn shirt pretty damn soon. I was going to wait to get those printed out, but I'm going to start working on that ASAP just so you can wear it to your next fight and post about it on Twitter and Facebook. That would be the greatest thing ever. Have a brand new enrollee at the School of BlackNegrojitsu. Thank you, Robert Turnquest. Stay on the line. I got to do your fight picks real quick.
All right, sounds.
I hope you guys really enjoyed that interview with judoka Robert Turnquest. Dave, what did you think of the interview? I know Craig, he didn't get a chance to listen because he's flying to and from Australia and Utah and all these different strange places. But what do you think of everything we talked about? Turnquest's experiences in judo, the military, and also his opinions on the protest or the kneeling during the national anthem.
I thought it was interesting. I thought he was actually a very, very informed and very, very bright guy. I'm actually going to touch upon the judo aspect, which I thought was very interesting.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Okay, before we get out of here, Craig, this is what Turnquest told us, and I think he made a great point. He said the reason why judo hadn't been more effective in mixed martial arts is because not many judokas are participating in mixed martial arts. And I think he's right, because even broke up Dan Kelly is doing pretty good, as we're seeing better judokas. So what do you think? What do you think of, before I get to you, Dave, what do you think about the effectiveness in judo overall as a grappling martial art? What do you think of it? Do you think it's just as effective as wrestling and high level Brazilian jiu-jitsu, or what?
I mean, yeah, I think it's really, really effective, and some of those techniques will definitely translate to even competition jiu-jitsu as well as MMA. I believe he's right that there hasn't been enough high-level judo guys to really showcase it as much as other arts. But do I think it's going to become as big as wrestling is or pure jiu-jitsu? Probably not. But yeah, I mean, yeah, like you said, Dan Kelly's killing it.
Dave, what now? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I thought it was very interesting, right? Because it's kind of, so the thing I'm gonna make the analogy to, right, is let's say like the fast-paced basketball you're seeing in the NBA, right, or like the stretching the floor and the 3-point shooting. It seems like if you get if you get that kind of flavor of the month out there, it seems like sometimes it takes the game some time to catch up. So, for example, what I'm trying to get to at that is when Ronda came in, Ronda was absolutely wrecking women in her weight class, with judo, with that whole like the judo transitioning to an arm bar. So I kind of agree with Robert Turnquest in the sense is that we haven't seen fighters that are as athletic as, say, a Ronda, that have that high-level judoka skills in the UFC, in Bellator, in MMA. So I don't think we can make a fair assessment, right? He basically said that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu turned into the big martial art once Royce Gracie won the first UFC. So everyone started seeing that, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is beating out all these other martial arts. So everyone started training in Jiu-Jitsu. So now to see somebody in MMA that's a high-level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu grappler is second nature. We haven't really seen that many ridiculously high-level judokas in mixed martial arts, right? Like Dan Kelly's a high-level judoka, but he's not athletic. He's 40, if not older. So I think what we might see, I don't think it's going to, kind of like Craig said, I don't think it's going to take off, but we'll see where it goes. I can't remember her name. She was just Olympic gold medalist.
Talking about Kayla.
Yes,
yeah, what's her name?
I can't remember her last name. Kayla
Harrison.
Yes,
there we go,
Kayla Harrison. So didn't she? I think she signed a MMA contract recently, or she's intending to go into MMA. And I think that might possibly set off a second wave. I think if she has a dominant run like Ronda did and starts wiping out a women's division wherever she's at, you might see some more high-level athletes start adapting it. So I think the sample size is just too small for us to really make an assumption on judo in mixed martial arts, because the only people we see doing it are guys like Dan Kelly, who can barely stand on two legs. So
yeah, well, Dan beat Rashad Evans. That was shockingly disgusting.
Incredible.
It was awesome, but it was shockingly disgusting. I don't know if Rashad Evans is declining, or I don't know, but I never would have thought I'd see the day where Dan Kelly beat a former champion. I hate to even say it.
Yeah, but Rashad Evans is washed up too, because we saw what Derek Brunson did to him right after that. Derek Brunson starched Dan Kelly.
But Dan Kelly taught me that judo is absolutely, and then if Hector Lombard, if he would get his shit together, he would be dominant right now. I mean, he's been hurting all his opponents and then getting come back on and finish. So judo is a sport that when we start seeing more high level competitors from it, it'll be just as high level a skill set as any other grappling thing. Turnquest pointed that out. I'm very excited. Hopefully I get to do this live podcast pretty soon. He's trying to get on Dana White's Contender Series. Wouldn't that be cool? I'm sure we probably couldn't do it live then, but just to be there in Las Vegas and to do the podcast, School BlackNegrojitsu, from there would be awesome. I know he's wearing it as the shirt as his walkout shirt for the next fight. Hopefully he's a man of his word. I sent it to him already. But that's all for today. I've got to thank Dave, co-instructor Dave here at the School of Black Negro Jitsu. Craig Jones, thank you for your contribution to the School of Black Negro Jitsu. Any shout outs, sponsors, anything you want to tell us tonight?
Shout out to my coach, Lachlan Giles, my team, Absolute MMA, and my main sponsors are MA1 Apparel. They make jiu-jitsu gear. Fight Life Australia are a distributor for a range of jiu-jitsu products and MMA products. And lastly, Saru Tape Company. They make finger tape.
Finger tape? What the fuck? What do you need finger tape for? What's the difference between finger tape and athletic tape?
Craig, start teaching him something.
Yeah, teach me something.
You'll
What
find
is
out if you try. It's like the perfect thickness and the perfect for your fingers to like tape them. A lot of gi guys get a lot of finger injuries, so you can sort of reinforce it with this tape.
I see. So the athletic tape is not acceptable, eh?
Yeah, I mean you could make it work, but it's just like you just pay for the convenience, I guess.
I see. Okay, I have never heard of fucking finger tape before. I would have thought it was a scam if anybody else told me about it. But I've got an Abu Dhabi Combat Championship top level competitor here. Maybe I need to go out and get some finger tape. That's it for the School of Black Negro Jitsu today, class 12. Thank you guys for tuning in. Also, guys, if you haven't done it, make sure you enroll. It's free, guys. Go enroll, man. Get enrolled. It's free. School of Black Negro Jitsu. We out of here.